Welcome to my course Research Methodology and Statistics. This is one of the toughest subjects in psychology and is one of the most important subjects in psychology. Let's right away dive into the definition of research. What is research? Research is defined as the creation of new knowledge or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative manner so as to generate new concepts, methodology or understandings. So in a research, when you are conducting a research, you can either be the pioneer in that field or you can build on the gaps, you can fill in the gaps, you can build on what is already done. So there are variety of researches that can be done. Now we are going to look at in the beginning the goals of research. So why do we do research? And when we are looking at the goals of research, we have to look at it from the aspect of English. In English, we have the WH questions, which often answers the plot of a story or plot of a play and so on. Likewise, in research also we have WH questions related to that we have the goals of research. For example, the first goal is description. So what does description mean? It actually answers the what question. What exactly is the research and what is going into the research? What is it looking to address is what we do call as the description part of the research. The second goal of research is explanation. Explanation in the sense why is it happening? What is the root cause of it? The cause-effect relationship between the variables. All these are called explanation. The third goal of research is prediction. Prediction answers the WH question of when it will happen and when will it unfold and in what effect will it have is what the predictions answers. The last is application, which is the most crucial goal of research because this is used on a day basis or day-to-day basis in corporates, in education sector, in management and so on. So the application aspect answers the how question. How are you applying your research? How are you going to go ahead? How are the trends in that market, in that particular field affecting your sales, etc. and etc. So these are the goals of research. Hope it was clear to you. Please comment and please ask me if you have any questions. So the next aspect is dimensions of research. Imagine this is like a quadrant and in the dimension we have 4 dimensions. The first is purpose, the second is context and the third is time and then use. So we have the purpose of the research, what will be the purpose, what will be the use, what exactly is the motive of the research. Context, in what context is the research based, on whom are you conducting it, on whom are you doing the sample, so that is the context. Time, is it a longitudinal study or is it a cross-sectional study? Are you going to do it throughout the year? Are you going to do it all the Mondays of the week? Of the month, or are you going to do on certain days of the month, like a payday study you can do on the day of the pay. The employees are probably happier than usual. That could be a time based dimension. And then last one is use. Like I said, it's an application again. So what is the use of this and how are you going to employ that in the research? Based on the dimensions, we can also divide the research types as exploratory, descriptive, explanatory. So exploratory research, again, like I said, it explains something novel, something new. How is it happening and what is happening exactly. This is the exploratory research. The second is descriptive research. Like we already saw, the descriptive research is going to see the what and how is it happening, how is it impacting and stuff. The explanatory research part is going to give you the why of the research, like why is this cause having this effect, why is this variable having an effect on this variable. All that is the explanatory part. So so far we have seen 3 types of research based on the dimension. One is explanatory, next is descriptive, the third is explanatory. So the next aspect of research is perspective. So we have perspective of use also, which will come later. This is perspective, meaning in the sense like you have ideographic research and normothetic research. I'll explain what it is shortly. Ideographic research is something like it is like a case study. So it's unique to one subject or a sample. So the N can also be 1. It can also be a cluster of people belonging to the same category, but it is often N is equal to 1 that is the sample size is equal to 1 in the case of ideographic research. And the second type of research that I said is normothetic research. Normothetic research is not very specialized. It's the exact opposite of specialization, it's generalization. So when I'm doing a research, I'm trying to generalize it on a population. For instance, the voting trends, recently we had voting election in India, the voting trends. I'm trying to generalize the voting trends in South India, in North India, in the West of India and East of India. So this is the normothetic research, whereas ideographic research can be a particular city. In that, I'm going to take a particular profession. I'm going to take Delhi and doctors. So I'm going to take the voting patterns of a particular hospital's doctor in Delhi. So here I can also take one as a sample, and I don't have to generalize the research results I'm getting in the case of ideographic, whereas in normothetic I'm taking the trends of the voting, right? So when we come to the perspectives of use, as you might have heard, we have basic and applied research. Basic research is something that is not extensive, that's not application oriented, whereas applied research, we have action research, which is based on the participatory research, that is based on the participatory factor of research. The second is social impact research, like I said, the voting trends, or like it could be the impact of poverty, the impact of bribing, all that could be a social impact research. And the third is evaluation. So evaluation research is finding out how a particular thing affects a particular sample. For example, how does learning styles affect productivity? It could be one of the examples of applied research. In perspectives, we have seen the perspectives of use. Now let's look at the perspective of time when it comes to research. So you might have definitely heard about cross-sectional and longitudinal research. Cross-sectional research is very straightforward. Cross-sectional studies are pretty much straightforward, that they are like observation studies that analyze data from a population at a single point of time. It does not take into account how a population is behaving at different points of time. That is what is longitudinal research. So let's take cross-sectional research. Example could be the prevalence of health outcomes, or how a particular population is described in terms of let's say economic level or educational level. That's a cross-sectional study. A cross-sectional study is done only once, whereas a longitudinal study is done over a period of time. So in longitudinal study, we have four other types. One is time series, second is panel study, third is cohort analysis, and the last is case study. So longitudinally, you do a study that is over a course of time. So it could be either the course of seasons, or it could be the course of months. It could be anything, but they are again further divided into time series, panel, cohort analysis, and case study. So what is time series? Time series is a regular collection of data, that it could be like observation of trends. So it takes into account one variable, and it takes into account of one unit. Let's take the example of sales report, or prevalence of pollution in a city. So I'm taking the example of Delhi again, and I'm going to give you the pollution rates in Delhi, and this is a time series. I'm not including one other city, I'm not comparing it with any other city. I'm just taking the example of one city, and I'm going to do a trend analysis of that city. This is what we call as time series study. A panel study, the second type, often reads or describes a cause-effect relationship. It can have many variables, which is in contrast to a time series, which has only one variable, whereas panel study has multiple variables, but it has the same participants. So it does not change its participant, but it happens over the course of time. This could be one of the examples of panel study is policy making. In terms of policy making, the researchers often look at a particular population, the same population, over the period of time. So that is what they call as panel. The panel doesn't change here. So remember, when you say panel study, the panel remains constant. So like the example of an interview panel, we have the panel of participants and the panel of interviewers, right? So in the panel of interviewers doesn't change over the interviews also. So always remember, with respect to panel study, the population doesn't change, multiple variables, studies cause-effect relationship. These three are the important points when you have to think about panel study. The third subtype is cohort analysis. Cohort analysis is that it's the same thing as panel study, but it's just not the same population. So when I'm saying I'm going to take the class of 2024 in panel study, I have to take the class of 2024 again when I'm doing the research when it comes to panel study. But in case of cohort analysis, I can take the class of 2024 and I can take the class of 2023 also. You know, I can change the sample, but they are of the same background of the, let's say I'm going to take the economics graduates of 2024 and the economics graduates of 2023. Whereas in a panel study, you're not going to take them, you're going to take only the 2024 graduates alone. The next year also, you're going to take the class of 2024 only. Got it? Whereas in cohort analysis, the one other aspect of it is you cannot change the sample when it comes to their belongings. For instance, I cannot take 2023 class of psychology and 2024 class of economics. I should take both, either psychology or both should be economics. The last is case study. Case study, as we all know, n is equal to 1, but it could also be done over the period of time. For instance, in the case of epilepsy or developing a vaccination for a particular disorder, we often take one individual and we study their pattern and we see what kind of treatment we can give them, how they are improving, how they are not improving, how they are deteriorating. All that is done longitudinally. This could be an example of case study.